Let's get into it, Sip, because I want to welcome in a very special guest to kick off headlines. Let's welcome in the athletic director from the University of Nebraska, Troy Dannen, joining us here on this bye week. And Sip, you want to start this off? Where do you want to go?
Well, I mean, Troy, I kind of want to go to the news of the week. The news of the week, Matt Rule hiring a couple consultants, Dana Holgerson and Phil Snow. Troy, I've been describing this as unique. This hiring with 3 games to go is a unique development. Is it unique in your mind? And at what level do you discuss something like that with Matt?
Well, I would say first, Phil's been a consultant already. So
okay.
Dana's new to it, but Phil's been involved a little bit from a distance and looking at tape and giving Matt input because he's worked with Matt before. But I would say it's not totally unusual. Maybe more often than not, people don't see it, but I know my time at Tulane, 2 or 3 different times where a coach brought somebody in just to get a different set of eyes and what are you seeing, what are you feeling from somebody that hasn't been around it every day. You tend to get different perspectives sometimes, and you see things every day. You miss some of the obvious. So not totally off board. I know both guys. Obviously, when I was at Tulane and Dana was in the league at Houston, we played against him.
Mm-hmm.
I know my coach there, and I know Matt's regard for him as he is an offensive genius, and so I was excited to know we were going to get his perspective, and Phil's a legend. Again, I'll never forget when I was at Tulane, we played Temple. Phil was on the sidelines, and we thought we were going to beat him. We got beat 35-0, and that 0 was his doing. And after the game, my coach walked up to him and said, "That'll never happen again." And I was so enthused to hear my coach say that at the time. Yeah. But since that game, thinking we had a pretty good team and getting goose egged by him, I had a pretty good idea what he's all about as well.
Troy, just these last 3 games now to close out the year, can you just size up the importance of this stretch, what it means for the program to try to get bowl eligible and the task at hand now Nebraska faces?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's expectation going into the season, you'd find your way to get to 6 and, take that at least a step beyond where we've been for the last few years. And so, yeah, they're important games. I think the one thing the Big Ten, since we got in the league play, showed us, there's not a lot of separation from top to bottom in the league, and so I think if you don't make errors, you have a chance to win every game, and so they're having this bye week to regroup a little bit, reassess what you do, and head down the stretch. I think one thing for all of us, and I think for the underclassmen in the program, the idea of getting these seniors to a postseason game, who've given a lot and haven't gotten a lot of reward yet, mm-hmm. is on everybody's mind. And the other thing I would tell you guys, mm-hmm. I think there's a burden to bear for what hasn't happened here in the last decade or so that nobody that's a part of this program is responsible for, but yet they wear that burden through the fans. And so there's maybe a little extra pressure, a little extra different perspective, because this isn't just let's win one for the seniors and let's get to the bowl game. It's like, I think given what's happened again for the last 7 years of not going, and maybe the last 10 years or even longer, I think everybody is in the realization that to get the program turned to the direction you want to go, you need to find a way to find success down the stretch.
Troy, let's talk Memorial Stadium now, because obviously it's been in the discussion for quite some time, renovations. Do you have an update, a timeline, when you might have more details on Memorial Stadium here moving forward?
Yeah, I think I have a letter ready to send to the fan base just with a few updates, and okay. And I think that's probably going to go out next week. But in it, I talk about the stadium that I would guess first quarter of 25 that we will unveil the entire project. Where I'm at right now, I think we've got a pretty good handle on design, getting a pretty good handle on the financial model. And once those two things intersect, hopefully by Thanksgiving, I'll have everything in my hands, meet with the president of the administration, get to the board, talk to them about it, and then roll something out sooner rather than later. I would tell you, at this point in time, and a lot of things, if there's uncertainty in college athletics, that's the only certainty right now. But probably post 26, the south end comes down, and then you rebuild half of it. There is no way to do this without taking the entire south end down. And really the south end is it may not be the revenue generator in this, but structurally and physically it is the domino that makes everything else happen. And then there'll be some work on the east. There'll be I think really deep comprehensive work on the west inside the tower. The question, I think, whether you take everything down inside the west, inside the tower, or you just build over the top of it. There's a lot of deferred maintenance, and figuring out how we can do this project and take care of the deferred maintenance and still not have millions of dollars of work to do when this thing is all done. So I think that right now is the rough timeline. 26, we have Tennessee in here. I'd like to be at full capacity in 26. 27, we'll be down some in capacity, but that south end is not going to be empty. And the one thing insisted in this, we can't have a full end zone empty for a full season. So there'll be a lot of work done, a lot of fast work done. But in a perfect world, assuming the money lines up, 26, 27.
Without giving away, Troy, what you're going to, this letter you're going to send to the fans, are there any elements of this project that are particularly important to you that you want to see in this new configured stadium? Well,
there's a couple of things. One, I hate to say money, but we're going to be paying our athletes. We have to drive revenue inside the stadium. 43% of the seats that have a gift required to occupy those seats, 43% of those seats don't have that gift. They're grandfathered in. And if those gifts were received, that's $22 million a year in basically unrealized revenue inside the stadium. We have to realize that revenue. We have to get our premium areas better. I mean, I think people have done a great job here of adapting to the inadequacies of the stadium. Mm-hmm. But from travel to restrooms to travel about the stadium, just to what we're really able to provide, let alone then integrating alcohol sales and integrating the new things that we need to do. I look at those suites and we don't have any loge areas. Loge is the hottest premium thing going right now in new stadiums. And the suites, none of them have outdoor seating. And so, looking at some of those things as to whether there's an ROI associated with loge and outdoor suites, but getting the comfort. So obviously we've got to get the Wi-Fi fixed, but that's going to be a part of and that's a $10 to $15 million project in and of itself within the stadium piece.
Troy, when you talk alcohol sales, do you envision just canned beer being available like we saw for the Garth Brooks show and the volleyball day in Nebraska, or would there be a tap beer option as well, possibly?
That I don't know. We've got that concessions RFP out right now, and my guess is you don't go to many stadiums and see taps. Just against speed, everything's about speed. Anything you can put in a can. I see gin and tonic and vodka soda in a can. So I think anything you see in a can is liable to show up in the concourses. You may see tap beer and maybe some higher end typical well pours when you get into the club seating and the premium areas. But until we have a concessionaire who gets that contract, and they know what sells, they know how it moves, and they know how much of what beer to put in. So we're really relying on their expertise, relying on their pricing expertise, and it's not just the alcohol. It's once that concessionaire gets in here, there's more food options. There needs to be more food options than we have right now. And so how do we integrate those things in? Because right now we have very limited vertical transportation and elevators through the stadium. So how do we move food around? How do we move hot food around? So trying to figure out what we can do right away next year and what comes with the stadium renovations in a year or two down the line.
One more on that stadium renovation. There's one item that really has interested me. It's been brought up to you a couple times. I heard you discuss it in a speech in Omaha, the possibility of like a Bud Crawford fight, or not. If it's not a Bud Crawford fight, do you still see the possibility of a big mega event at Memorial Stadium, like the Garth Brooks concert or the volleyball day in Nebraska?
Have to.
Okay.
I've reached out to Bud's people about him fighting in the stadium. There is a standing offer there. A boxer's world is unique as to when they fight and where they fight. So if it works, it works. But we will plan our budget long term. Starting next year, we'll have 2 events in the stadium a year.
Okay.
And whether it can be a mega event, that sells out 90,000, it really depends on who's touring, right? From a music standpoint, but even doing 30,000 seat shows, with up and comers who then, the second time around, then they're selling the stadiums out. So, we need to get into that. I know the Big Ten's working on maybe a Big Ten stadium tour where we could actually book in the Big Ten an act that would hit 8, 9, 3, whatever Big Ten stadiums and just work around. Wow. So there's a lot of, we have to be really creative about how we use the stadium, not just 7 days a year.
Okay, interesting. That's
no Taylor Swift concerts yet, though, right?
If my daughter had her way, yes, we would have Taylor Swift. But my guess is Taylor Swift will not be making the rounds for stadiums for a little while, but we'll see her again, and we'll try to be on that list. Trust me.
Yeah, I had to ask that question for my daughters as well. But I want to ask you too, Troy, about the $22.5 million and the revenue sharing ahead, because we get asked this all the time. Any idea how that money is going to be divided amongst your sports, whether it's a Title IX or based on the revenue value of that sport? Do you have an idea what direction this is heading?
Well, I'm going to qualify my answer by saying this. I've been very careful not to speak publicly for 2 reasons. One, I think those who are speaking publicly are out over their skis a little bit. There are 100 questions that I don't have answers for. And I'll just give you one right off the top. The roster of 105 in football, is that 105 365 days a year? Is it 105 during the football season, or is it some hybrid of it? Right now we're carrying 145, 150 through spring ball and through summer, and we cut to 120 in camp, and then after the first game we go back to 150. So what does this model look like? There's a lot of those. We have to get answers. The devil's always been in the details, and so that part of it I'm waiting on. Secondly, particularly as it comes to the big picture money stuff, because it's active litigation and because it hasn't been resolved, I've been really hesitant. We haven't committed final numbers to our coaches. I've started to talk to them, and conceptually I've met with every coach and from rifle and bowling to football, just about how this model can play out in their benefit, trying to get their creative juices flowing to how it can be handled. I think the election, within college athletics, I think the fact that all 3 chambers have lined up with one party, whatever party it's going to be,
right,
means that we were always going to see a direction or something happen coming into the new Congress if all 3 lined up. How that impacts operationalizing the House settlement, should it finally settle, is another reason I'm trying to keep my powder a little bit dry. But the decision not fully made yet on how the money's going to be distributed. I will tell you the only thing that's absolute that I've told our coaches is we're not cutting scholarships and we're not cutting sports. And so for us, generating additional revenue and reallocating our existing expenses. We've got to look at, we're a $200 million operation. Do we really need to be spending $200 million at what we do, or is there a better way to take a piece of that money and allocate it toward this new expense versus what we've been doing? And that's the exercise that a lot of our leadership team has been doing over the last couple of months. I would tell you,
go ahead.
Part of my day is contemplating how we're going to operationalize and how this settlement will play out.
Back to those mega events at Memorial Stadium, which is very fascinating. You said it has to happen. You say we have to. Is that because does that comment occur in the context of this conversation?
It does. We have to generate revenue in ways other than raise ticket prices. And that's the easy grab. Well, internally, now every season, every ticket's the same price in the stadium, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense either. So once the stadium's done, we'll have to reevaluate how we ticket and how we price. I don't want to raise ticket prices until the stadium's done. I'd like to find ways other than the fans paying for it to get this new revenue model fully implemented. The alcohol sales piece is low-hanging fruit that, frankly, we have the ability to take advantage of, but a lot of other institutions have already done. So things like that, it's utilizing the stadium for revenue-generating events that's going to help us grow revenue without growing on the backs of raising ticket prices.
How much revenue could alcohol sales bring just on your rough estimates right now?
I think when you start looking at what we can sell, and on top of that, the signage and the when I say the multimedia aspect of it, and sponsorship of club areas and things like that, maybe $7 to $8 million a year, to the top line of the budget, which is significant when you're looking at the expense increase that we're looking at moving forward.
Well, Troy, we appreciate your time here on the bye week. The football season's just flown by. It's hard to believe we just got 3 games left here before things wrap up.
Yeah, I know. It's as basketball started, somebody reminded me, I started here at the end of the basketball season last year, obviously at first week of the tournament. So in some ways, this has almost been a full cycle, even though I've got a few months for that first year. It is hard to believe where we're at. But I'll also tell you this. It is, regardless of whether people want us to be 9-0 in football or 5-4, like we said today. This place is greater than I could have ever imagined coming in here, I'm more excited every morning when I wake up, no matter what's happening competitively, because I know we can get where we want to get. I know we have the wherewithal to use whatever changes are coming in the enterprise to leapfrog some people that we've been chasing, because historically we've done such a good job of building this ship, if you will. Now is I think where it's going to take off and really pay dividends and benefits going forward.
Yeah, you're almost a second-year AD now. I guess it never dawned on me until you just said that. You're almost second-year AD, Troy Dannen.
Well, I would say this. I've got a year's worth of travel and speaking all throughout the state of Nebraska. If I had hair, it would have been gone, because it's been a wild year because of the short transition at Washington too. But getting the family here, getting everybody situated, and going to my kids' practices along, whenever I don't have a Husker home event, it's a great time. It's a great time for us. I really love the coaching staff here. I really love the staff we have running this department on a day-to-day basis. And the other thing is the part of why I hungered for Nebraska was because of the fishbowl. It was because of scrutiny. It's because of you can't beat places that care, sometimes that gets a little toxic and caustic, and I get it. But you know what? Nothing beats people wanting things to be better and caring about it and striving to make things better. And I think we've got that in-house as well as outside the house. So I've actually I've lived a lot of the extremes here in the last month.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm thrilled with that, because if people didn't care, I've seen it, and it makes waking up in the morning and going home at night a lot less fun when you know that people don't care and people aren't watching what you do.
Well, Troy, thank you again for your time. I can tell you on your speaking events, you reached legendary status at Holy Ghost. They want you back. They loved you down there.
Oh, it was fascinating. I saw it.
Well, that's because I gave them auction items and they were able to raffle them off. And so the one secret is every time I go someplace, I try to put something into their auction, because then no matter what I say, no matter how bad I am as a speaker, they remember this guy gave us something. So that's I learned that a long, long time ago. But that was a neat event. And I'm actually headed to Omaha tonight to meet with about 50 or 60 NIL guys and women who've supported 1890, and we'll get pumped up with them.
We'll raise some money.
Exactly. That's the name of the game.
Yep. Well, hey, thanks again, Troy, for joining us here. We're looking forward to seeing you out in LA.
Thanks a ton.